The ballroom glittered with candlelight and champagne flutes, each crystal catching the golden glow of 1,000 whispered dreams. Savannah Hartley stood at the center of it all, flawless in a sapphire velvet gown that swept the marble floor, her diamond engagement ring glinting with the same elegance that defined her entire life. Guests smiled, whispered, envied. She was 35. Beautiful. Heiress to the Hartley Cosmetics empire. And newly engaged to Julian Westbrook, a high-profile venture capitalist with the charm of a politician and the pedigree of old money. It should have been perfect. But something was wrong. She'd known it the second Julian's lips brushed her cheek instead of her mouth when she'd introduced him to her French mentor Elise earlier that evening. She knew it when he flinched as she joked about naming a lipstick after him. She knew it because in a room full of people celebrating her, Julian hadn't once looked at her like she mattered. Only at Elise. Savannah's eyes trailed across the room now, subtle and practiced. Elise stood near the grand piano, laughing too loudly at something Julian said. Her hand rested a beat too long on his arm. Savannah's stomach dropped. This was her party. Her night. But she felt like the ghost of it. "You okay, sweetheart?" Her assistant Chloe appeared at her side with an extra flute of champagne, eyes scanning her with the efficiency of a bodyguard. "Fine," Savannah lied, taking the glass and sipping without tasting. "Perfectly fine." Chloe tilted her head, clearly unconvinced. "You want me to do the thing?" Savannah half smiled. "Not yet." The thing was Chloe's nickname for subtle sabotage, usually involving lighting adjustments, sudden schedule changes, or security camera replays. Chloe was fiercely loyal. Savannah had hired her straight out of an Ivy League business school after seeing her dismantle a sexist panel moderator at a conference. Best decision she'd ever made. Except maybe the one she was about to make now. The engagement toast was scheduled in 10 minutes. Guests were already being ushered toward the grand staircase, where Julian would say something charming and Savannah would say something more graceful, and the photographers would catch every angle of the fairy tale. But Savannah had seen Julian's texts earlier that week. She hadn't meant to. His phone had buzzed while he was in the shower and the screen had lit up with a message. "Elise. Last night was a mistake. But I can't stop thinking about you." And the one before that, "Julian. Don't worry. Savannah's obsessed with this wedding. She won't suspect a thing." Savannah had stared at the screen for a long time. Her hands had gone numb. But her spine had turned to steel. Now as the toast drew near, Savannah turned to Chloe. "Actually, yes. Do the thing." Chloe blinked once, then cracked a slow smile. "Security footage sounds synced? Full display. Copy that." Savannah walked toward the stairs, calm and unhurried. She passed Julian on the way. He touched her waist, that performative familiarity. She leaned into the act and whispered, "You ready?" Julian smiled. "Born ready." You have no idea, Savannah thought. The chandelier overhead sparkled like 1,000 eyes, all watching. Savannah stood at the top of the staircase, Julian beside her, one hand on the small of her back. The crowd below hushed, camera phones at the ready, champagne glasses tilted in anticipation. Chloe gave a subtle nod from the side of the ballroom, standing near the projector controls. Savannah raised her glass. "Thank you all for being here tonight. I know how busy your calendars are. It means the world to Julian and me to share this moment with our friends, our family, and our investors." She gave a soft laugh that earned a ripple of polite chuckles. Julian chuckled too, playing his part. It's not every day you find someone who makes you want to slow down, settle in, and stay. Savannah smiled at him. "That's true," she said softly. "But sometimes, what you think is real love turns out to be really good acting." A few confused murmurs rose. Julian blinked. "What?" Savannah turned to the ballroom. "You know, when my parents first got engaged, my mother told me something I never forgot. She said, 'You can't build a life on charm, Savannah. You build it on truth. And truth always finds its way to the surface.'" She handed her champagne flute to Chloe, who had approached silently behind her. Then Savannah turned toward the projector screen hanging behind the staircase and gave a short, simple nod. The lights dimmed, and the ballroom fell silent. At first only audio. Julian's voice, low, smug, intimate. "She's obsessed with the wedding. She won't suspect a thing." Then Elise's voice. "We said last night was a mistake." Gasps rippled through the crowd like a wave crashing onto cold marble. The video cut to a security recording, Julian and Elise in the wine cellar 2 nights prior, his hands on her waist, hers in his hair. The image wasn't graphic, but it was damning. Someone dropped a glass. Someone else muttered, "Oh my God." Julian lunged for the controls. Chloe blocked him, her eyes burning. "I wouldn't." He turned to Savannah, pale and trembling. "You set me up." "No," Savannah cut in, reclaiming the silence. "You did this all by yourself. I just made sure you didn't get to control the narrative." She stepped forward, calm and powerful, her voice ringing clear. "I built this night. I built this empire. I built this future. And all you had to do was not torch it." Julian's mouth opened and closed, but the cameras had already caught what mattered. Savannah descended the stairs like a queen leaving the battlefield she just conquered. As she passed Elise, who stood frozen near the piano, Savannah paused just long enough to say, "Don't worry. He'll betray you too. He's very consistent." By morning, the entire city was talking. The headlines were brutal. Savannah Hartley exposes fiancé's affair during engagement party. Wine lies and surveillance. How a beauty mogul took revenge in heels. Julian Westbrook's reputation in shambles after viral infidelity video. And that was just page 1. Savannah sat cross-legged in the sunroom of her penthouse, silk robe wrapped around her like armor. Chloe beside her on the couch with a laptop open and 3 phones buzzing in rotation. CNN, The Cut, Harper's Bazaar, and... Chloe clicked another tab. "Oh look, even TMZ wants a quote. Should we give them your signature lipstick and call it Betrayal Red?" Savannah smirked behind her coffee cup. Not a bad idea. Truth was, she hadn't slept. Not really. She'd spent the night watching the video on loop, not out of obsession but confirmation. Confirmation that she had been right. That her instincts weren't broken. That she hadn't imagined the coldness in Julian's voice or the patronizing tone Elise used every time she said "savvy." A fresh text buzzed in. "Julian. Please call me. You made your point. But we need to talk." Savannah deleted it without reading further. "Anything from Elise?" she asked. Chloe tapped a few keys. She deleted all her socials and put her consulting firm on pause. Probably hiding in the Hamptons. Savannah set her cup down. "Good. Now let's talk strategy." Chloe raised an eyebrow. "Oh, not done yet." "I'm just getting started," Savannah said, rising from the couch. "Julian thought he could cheat on me and still attach his name to my next business expansion. He was planning to pitch to my board next week, Chloe. You think this was just personal? You're going to ruin him professionally too." Savannah's smile was ice and fire. "No, I'm going to outshine him. I don't need to ruin him, he'll collapse under the weight of his own lies. I just need to give investors somewhere better to run." Chloe was already typing. "Then we should move the launch timeline up." "Exactly. The new clean beauty line. Pull in all the press that was going to cover the wedding and redirect it to the brand. Make them see me as a phoenix, not a victim." Chloe grinned. "You got it." As Chloe handled logistics, Savannah walked to the mirror in her foyer. She looked at herself, not the perfectly poised image from last night's party, but the raw version now. Slightly tired. Completely unafraid. Her eyes landed on the engagement ring. It still sat on her finger. She slipped it off slowly and dropped it into a glass of green juice. "Chloe," she called. "Let's send that to Julian with a card." "What should it say?" Savannah turned, her voice cool and clear. "Looks like we're both cleansing." 3 days after the engagement party that made national headlines, Savannah Hartley walked into the boardroom of Hartley Skincare like she owned more than just the company, she owned the moment. And she did. The 10 board members, all older, mostly male and previously skeptical of her emotional marketing tactics, stood as she entered, unsure whether to shake her hand or apologize for doubting her leadership. She gave them no time to do either. "Let's begin," Savannah said, placing her custom crocodile skin binder on the conference table. "As you all know, our private launch for the new Clean Beauty collection was scheduled for next quarter. But due to recent media attention, she allowed the understatement to hang in the air like perfume. We've decided to go public ahead of schedule." Murmurs around the table. "Miss Hartley," began Mr. Reinhardt, the oldest board member and the most traditional. "Are you sure this is wise? There's been personal drama. Investors get nervous around scandal." Savannah leaned forward, her tone velvet but unyielding. That scandal tripled our organic web traffic in 48 hours. TikTok alone has over 13 million views under the hashtag Savvy Revenge. People aren't running away, they're leaning in. Chloe clicked a remote and the presentation screen lit up with live analytics. Engagement spikes, product waitlist signups, influencer support, a graph that looked like a launch rocket. And here's the real kicker, Chloe said, stepping in. We pre-released a single product, Savannah's personally formulated Second Skin Serum. It sold out in 3 hours. A stunned silence. Savannah took a breath and delivered the final blow. The market doesn't care about my ex's poor judgment. The market cares about authenticity. And right now, I am authenticity. One by one, the board members nodded. Motion to approve the revised launch strategy, Savannah asked. Every hand went up. Unanimous. Later that day, Savannah walked through the company's downtown showroom, employees pausing to smile, nod, or offer a quiet "you've got this." She did. And they knew it. As she reached her office, she found someone waiting outside her door. Tall, stylish in a minimalist charcoal suit, with the effortless presence of someone used to making things happen. Elias Grant, CEO of Gandco Investments, a former rival of Julian. And once upon a time, someone Savannah had almost dated, before choosing Julian instead. I heard you turned your engagement party into a TED Talk with a projector, he said, smiling as she unlocked her office door. Impressive. Savannah smirked. I do love a strong visual aid. Elias followed her inside, setting down a sleek leather portfolio. I'm not here to gossip. I'm here to make an offer. She raised an eyebrow. Go on. I've seen the numbers. Your brand's pivot from legacy skincare to transparency-led innovation? Smart. And bold. And it's what the future looks like. Savannah narrowed her eyes. You want in. I want to invest. Not take over. You stay in charge. I help scale this globally. You dominate the next 5 years of clean beauty. And together we make Julian irrelevant. Savannah studied him. Confident. Dangerous in the best possible way. She smiled. Tell your legal team to prepare a proposal. Done. And Elias? Yeah. This time I'm choosing right. The red carpet outside the LA Contemporary Arts Pavilion shimmered under camera flashes as Savannah stepped out of her custom silver Mercedes coupe. Every inch the woman she'd always been told was too much for the world to handle. Tonight she was the world. The global launch for her clean beauty line, True Skin, had drawn celebrities, beauty editors, influencers, and activists alike. But none drew more attention than Savannah Hartley herself. She wore an off-shoulder black velvet gown with a cape that caught the wind like wings, powerful, sculptural, unforgettable. On her heeled finger, no ring, just a swipe of bold lipstick the color of victory. Chloe met her at the entrance. We're trending in 47 countries. Any word from Julian? Savannah asked without looking over. 6 missed calls. A voicemail that starts with, I made a mistake, and ends in a sob. Savannah smirked. Let him cry in 4K. They entered the grand gallery where enormous screens displayed the True Skin campaign. Women of every background, age, and skin tone speaking raw truths while applying the product. The tagline read, not flawless, fearless. Savannah walked through the crowd, collecting handshakes and praise from brand reps, journalists, and an Oscar-winning actress who whispered, You're my hero. She smiled graciously, soaking in the moment but never losing focus. Elias found her near the champagne wall. He offered her a glass. To global empires built from broken hearts? She clinked her glass against his. To using the fall to fuel the rise. He hesitated a second longer than necessary. You look. Don't, she warned gently. Elias smiled. Got it. Business only. Their chemistry was undeniable, but Savannah wasn't ready to explore it. Not yet. Tonight wasn't about starting something new. It was about closing the final door on something old. Which is exactly when she saw him. Julian. Uninvited. Standing near the product demo stage looking like a man unraveling from the inside out. He walked toward her slowly. Savannah. I just need 5 minutes. She raised her glass, eyes still cool. You've had 5 years. I didn't know what I had until I lost it. That's the difference between us, she said. I never forget what I'm holding. And I don't drop it for someone shinier in the moment. The crowd was watching. Phones discreetly lifted. A hush hovered over the space like mist before thunder. You're making a mistake, Julian said, trying once more. No, she replied, stepping closer. I made the mistake when I believed a man who said he supported strong women, until one stood beside him. Then she leaned in, her voice silk-wrapped steel. I'm not your loss, Julian. I'm your lesson. The room exploded in applause. Julian turned and fled, face red, collar tight. Elias appeared at Savannah's side moments later. You're a better closer than anyone I've ever met. She smiled, sipping her champagne. That wasn't a close. That was an opening act. 3 months later, Truskin was everywhere. Billboards in Times Square. A commercial spot during the Oscars. A limited edition serum collaboration with a South Korean pop icon that crashed the website in 5 minutes. Savannah Hartley had become not just a beauty mogul but a symbol. Of resilience. Of reinvention. Of revenge done right. She stood in her private Manhattan office, sunlight painting streaks across the floor-to-ceiling windows. Overlooking a skyline she now had the power to shape. Chloe entered without knocking. She never knocked unless it was bad news. I need to show you something, Chloe said, her voice low. Savannah turned slowly. What is it? Chloe slid a sleek folder onto the table. It was a financial report. Discrepancies. Deep ones. Savannah's brows furrowed as she scanned the pages. Shipping invoices that didn't match the inventory. Supplier contracts that had been edited after approval. International licensing deals rerouted through a shell account. This is internal, Savannah said, heart beginning to race. Someone close. Too close, Chloe murmured. I traced the shell account. It's linked to a holding firm run by, she hesitated. Say it. Elise. Savannah's breath caught. Elise? She's finished. She hasn't worked in months. Chloe shook her head. Apparently she found work. Under the radar. As a silent consultant for one of our logistics vendors. Julian must have helped her get the connection before their ship sank. She's been siphoning funds and redirecting resources. Why? Savannah whispered. Why now? I don't know. But I do know this: if she crashes our European supply chain, we miss our summer launch window. And if word gets out that someone breached our logistics, it'll damage our entire transparency first image. Savannah stared at the city outside. So bright. So high up. And yet, danger was always waiting underneath. I trusted the wrong people once, she murmured. I won't do it again. Chloe stepped closer. What do we do? Savannah straightened her shoulders. We fight it like everything else. Strategically. Publicly if needed. But first. She picked up her phone. I'm calling Elias. The private jet cabin hummed softly as Savannah sipped espresso and watched the clouds slice past. Across from her, Elias was reviewing digital evidence Chloe had compiled: emails, forged contracts, wire transfers. She covered her tracks well, he said. Too well for someone who didn't have help. Savannah's jaw clenched. Julian. Elias nodded grimly. He's not just sulking anymore. He's scheming. They thought they'd hit you at your peak, destabilize your company just as it scaled. They underestimated how I handle sabotage, Savannah said coldly, especially when it wears designer heels. They landed in Zurich by nightfall, headquarters of the vendor that had unknowingly been compromised. Savannah walked into the boardroom like the CEO of Consequences. Elise was already there. She looked thinner, tired, still elegant, but with edges worn down by desperation. Julian wasn't with her. Savannah, Elise said, standing slowly, this isn't what you think. No, Savannah cut in, it's exactly what I think. You tried to steal from me. After humiliating me. After sleeping with the man I was going to marry. Don't pretend this is about money, Elise snapped. You couldn't stand that Julian wanted me. That you weren't enough. Savannah laughed softly. Julian didn't want you, Elise. He wanted someone more insecure than him. That was never going to be me. She turned to the vendor executives. You've been working with a fraud. Elise forged contracts, rerouted shipments, and compromised your client relationship. My legal team has prepared a full report. But here's the deal, cut ties with her today or we end everything. No press. No negotiations. Just silence. And death by reputation. The silence was swift. The vendor CEO stood and handed Elise an envelope. Termination. Elise's face drained of color. I hope, Savannah added, turning toward the door, you remember this feeling. It's what happens when the woman you underestimated becomes the architect of your downfall. 1 year later, Venice, Italy. The renovated palazzo glowed with soft golden lighting as Savannah stepped into the grand opening of True Skin Atelier, her first international concept gallery, half product showcase, half skincare lab, all curated power. Elias stood beside her on the balcony. You really built all this out of betrayal? She smiled. No. I built it out of clarity. Julian's company just filed for bankruptcy, he added casually. Investors fled after Elise's scandal went public. I didn't even have to lift a finger, Savannah replied. Turns out karma knows how to code a spreadsheet. Chloe appeared with a glass of champagne. To your empire, she said. Savannah raised her glass. To knowing our worth and never again letting someone else define it. She looked out over the Grand Canal. Music rose from below, laughter echoing from courtyards. But inside her it was calm, peaceful, powerful. She had survived humiliation, betrayal, and sabotage. And she hadn't just recovered. She had reclaimed. She had rebuilt. She had redefined. Not with vengeance born of rage, but with purpose born of knowing her true value. Savannah Hartley, 36 now, walked back inside. And the world followed.